Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to the Den of the Drake. Other dragons hoard gold, while I hoard internet cringe. Reddit. Ugh, Reddit. Even the name is enough to send waves of revulsion all throughout the body as if you were being injected by a slow poison. Except in this case, I think I'd rather take the poison. At least if I die that way, the last thing I hear won't be unprovoked political opinions or justifications for why moderators should qualify for a veterans discount. Yeah, it's no secret that I believe that Reddit is where good things go to die a slow death via 1,000 unfunny memes. But every once in a while, a light will shine in the darkness, and a shred of self-awareness will descend upon the website known as Reddit.com. Redditors' minds will open like a flower blooming in the sunlight for the first time, and they will ask the question, wait, am I the asshole? That's right, it's nerd-flavored AmITheA time. For those of you who are unaware, the verdicts passed on these posts will fall into one of four categories. You're the asshole, not the asshole, everybody sucks here, and the ever-rare but always appreciated no assholes here. What? You cry in astonishment? You mean to tell me that I can find genuine self-reflection on Reddit? Well, no. If we're being perfectly honest, most of these are just excuses to get validation from strangers that sometimes backfire. But boy, is it fun when they do! Ladies and gentlemen, court is now in session. Let's all rise for the dishonorable Judge Drake as we dive headfirst into the judgmental world of Am I the Asshole? Enjoy. Story number 1 comes from Reddit user KilligContribita and is titled AmITheA for not wanting my boyfriend to play Warhammer anymore. At least for the time being. I, 22F, honestly haven't ever been resentful of his, 24 male, love for tabletop games. He's actually the reason that I'm into tabletop games now as well. But I can't help but feel like playing Warhammer has skewed his priorities lately. I recently called him out on spending hours and hours researching Warhammer stuff, but not a single thing about engagement rings, as I'd calmly talked to him several times for the past 3 weeks about him needing to look into rings and engagement in general more seriously, as he'd told me he'd been planning to propose before the end of fall of 2020. I've planned a wedding before, and I know how much effort these things require. He insisted each time that he would start, and never did. A near breakup later, and he's now taking me and the impending engagement seriously. Today he drove me to work. I didn't have President's Day off, and picked me up for a lunch date. When he dropped me back off at the office, I told him to let me know what his plans were regarding picking me back up, since I knew he'd be playing Warhammer. I know that games don't have a set duration, so I just wanted a heads up if I should plan to work a little longer. My day ends at 5:30 p.m., and since I hadn't heard from him all afternoon, I assumed that he was picking me up at the same time. I text him at 5:28 p.m., asking if he's already there. No answer. I call and he tells me that he's just now leaving. On a good day, this place is at least 20 minutes away from my office. So I'm annoyed he's running late and also hasn't offered an apology. When his parents visited for MLK weekend, he left for 6+ hours to play Warhammer. His parents and I just stayed in the apartment doing nothing. They didn't even want to go out, they just wanted to spend time with their son. So yeah, they were probably hurt that they used a holiday to visit a son who disappeared a good chunk of the day. Not to mention, we waited for him to have dinner and it was nearly 9 p.m. when he got home. So yeah, no one was particularly happy with him. I'm really fed up with how Warhammer's basically pushed his relationships to the back burner. AmITheA if I don't want him playing anymore. The Emperor protects everything except for engagements and familial relationships. Yikes, this is a rough one. On one hand, the guy definitely has his priorities skewed. I'm a big Warhammer guy too, so I know that this hobby can get a real stranglehold on the people who enjoy it. Normally it comes in waves, with the peak being damn near obsession before the eventual burnout causes you to not touch it again for months until the cycle repeats. If you're wondering, I'm on the upswing right now. A few more relapses and I may finally finish painting my Tyranids. But this goes way past the normal Warhammer cycle level of obsession. Abandoning both you and his parents was a total dick move, because it signals that he values his own time and experiences over the people that he's supposed to care about. Without any context, it almost seems like he's using Warhammer as an escape. I mean, I know that's what I do. Why be in pain when you can be in paint instead? Haha! Keep it together, Drake. Your weekly cry session isn't for another 3 days. Anyway, your boyfriend is out of line. However, I gotta ask, aren't we kind of putting the cart before the horse here? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't weddings supposed to be planned after you're engaged? So why are we planning an engagement? It seems a little bit goofy to me that we're approaching this with the mindset of planning for the planning of a wedding. Plus, I feel like there's not a lot of attempts at a compromise here. It does not bode well for a marriage when you're expecting him to completely abandon a part of his identity the moment it becomes inconvenient. I'm gonna go with everybody sucks here. Your boyfriend's gotta lay off the plastic crack, but you gotta give him some plastic slack. Hey, the Super Bowl may be over, but you know who the real winner is? You! Because you get to use the link in my description or code Drake at checkout to get a fat discount on the new Gamer Sub 69ers merch drop. This is your one and only chance to pick up a 69ers hoodie, t-shirt, sweatpants, duffel bag, or waifu cup because when they're gone, they're gone! And yeah, that is the real name. Truly, we are looking at history being made. Story number 2 comes from Reddit user SexMet42 and is titled AmITheA for refusing to change character race. I think it's more of an AmITheA story than a horror story, but I'm upset and want to share. Also, I apologize for the possible incorrect use of the term furry. There may be a language barrier there, and I don't want to offend people who are into anthropomorphic animals. I joined the paid game. A paid game in a paid club, so it's basically about paying the DM and the club separately. It's a common practice here. With a DM that I've never played before in a club that I've never visited before. It was a big one-shot or a doublet, like 6 to 9 hours of gameplay involved. So there was no session 0. Instead, everything should be approved by the DM in private messages. DMs looking for players' posts didn't have any details about which materials were allowed to use in character creation. So I messaged him and asked if I could pick a homebrew race. He said yes, if it's not some kind of overpowered shit. Well, I have a hard hyperfixation on chinchillas right now, so I picked a chin-chin race, and sent the link to it to the DM, with my character sheet and list of my veils. The DM approved my chinchilla wizard, and everything was seemingly going smoothly. The day of the game came, and I came to the club just a little bit before the beginning, and I was the third one out of 5 players to come. 2 guys and the DM were already there. The DM greeted me, then asked me to step aside with him and said that he had to cancel my chinchilla. It was sad, but predictable. I mean, homebrew is homebrew. Me. So, should I switch to an official race? DM. Yes, you can take the empty sheet, and we will patiently wait for you. We can always wait for a lady. Weird wording, but fine. Okay, as I said, I was ready. I always have a placeholder character that I always keep in my Google Docs. It's a Herringon Barbarian. Chaotic good, simple backstory, which could be played as a broken bun with PTSD, or a cute stupid bun, depending on the tone of the game. I can hop with her into any game. So I briefly rewrote her stats from Google Docs to the sheet and gave it to the DM, only to find out that homebrew itself was not the problem. DM. Well, Herringons are like bunnies, right? Me. Hares, but kinda, yeah. So her backstory is basically the same that the chinchilla had. Herringons were soldiers in the Civil War of Fairies. DM. So, it's a furry, right? Me. Yes, but I promise there won't be any naughty stuff or anything. DM. I won't allow furries. My players don't want it. He nodded towards the guys. I understand that animal-based races are not for everyone. Some think that they are overpowered. Some think that they are destroying the atmosphere of classic fantasy. But in the original post, the DM did not say anything about restrictions on sources or race types. Almost all my characters are built around animal-based races. I'm not a part of the furry community, but I do like furries. And the Herringons, Loxodons, and Kenkus are just top-notch races for me. Not only because of the design, but also because of features too. So if the DM says, no furries, or PHP races only, I just know that this game is not for me, so I won't try and join it. Me. There was nothing about no furries in the calling post. DM. Yes, but let's have some respect for each other. My players don't want to play with furries. Me. And I don't want to play without them, so I think I joined the wrong party. Sorry, DM. You can't just go. He then explained that in this club, the rent of a table costs $10 per table, no matter how many players are there. So if I go, the rest of the players will pay $2.50 instead of $2. DM said that, "It looks like fraud on my part." I paid around 70 cents for the subway to get into the club, only to know that I can't play any of my characters, so it's a fraud of the century nonetheless. Me, that's sad, but I want to play my character, period. You should make your post more clear. DM. Look, you can play any other character. And this is where I just turned and went away. No, I didn't ask the other players. I didn't want to try and find a compromise. I was just hella mad. I'm guessing that at least a few of the people who signed up for this game were regular players of this DM, because he repeatedly referred to them as his players, which makes it even stranger that the DM didn't mention his regular players' no-nos in the original post. TLDR, DM approved homebrew furry race. When I came to the game, DM rejected it, and when I switched to the official furry race, the DM said he actually banned all the furries, so I ran away like a crybaby. Damn, and here I thought I was living in abject poverty, but all that over paying 50 cents? At that point, this group should be rolling charisma checks to see if they qualify for unemployment benefits. So I'd be lying if I said I didn't agree a bit about you being a crybaby, but you can still be in the right while being a crybaby simultaneously. I mean, just look at me. I mean, maybe not the being right part, but I digress. Isn't it funny how there was no mention of the banning of animal races up until the point where he was convinced that you couldn't leave? That combined with the "we'll be patient for a lady" line was enough to set off my RPG horror story alarm bells. But even giving this DM the benefit of the doubt, once a character is approved, that's it. Hands off. Of course, last-minute tweaks and player-approved backstory changes aside, a lot of players view their characters as sacred, and there's nothing wrong with that if you establish the expectation, which that expectation was established here, especially since this is part of a game that you paid to be a part of. If you're gonna be providing your DMing as a service, you better be prepared to deliver that service. You were baited into a game with the premise of being able to play the furry character you wanted to play, only to be trapped in a game playing a character that you don't want to play, with people that you don't really want to play with, and being told that you need to pay for it. Not the asshole. This DM needs to chill the f out. Story number 3 comes from Reddit user Flashy Property 1222 and is titled AITA for arguing about lore. So this happened about a week ago, and I'm definitely sure that I acted somewhat wrongly. I just want to know if I can be at all justified. So I saw an ad for and joined a campaign based on Fate/Stay Night, an anime where the rough premise is mages summoning the spirits of dead heroes to compete in a death game for the Holy Grail. I am a massive Fate fan, and I have been for years, and I have read/seen/played basically all of the stories in the franchise and the greater Nesuverse. I'm a lore junkie who has been hyper-fixated on this extremely odd franchise for years. So I jumped at the chance since a scheduling conflict had killed my last game. I talked to the GM and learned that the system was heavily homebrewed D&D. I learned the basic plot. A new Grail War appears, and I was approved to join. From there, I met the rest of the party. Most of them had seen some of Fate/Stay Night, and maybe Fate/Zero, but none of the greater type Moonverse. It was all fine since they were all nice people with interesting character concepts, and we began session 1. This is where the incident happened. About 3/4 into the session, one of the players said, "I'll teleport to here." I forgot how, maybe Misty Step, and I started talking. Basically, in Fate, teleportation is a big deal. It's practically true magic and requires either a command seal, literally a crystallized miracle that you can only get 3 of, or a large amount of prep time by an extremely talented mage, also while only in their own territory. You can't just do that. So I explained that and said that it shouldn't be possible. He argued that the system allowed for it and thus continued. I'm not a rules lawyer, but the convoluted deep magic system of Fate is why I like it so much, and didn't want to see it misinterpreted like that. I said as much, and he got a bit heated on me and I responded in kind. world. No real insults or cursing, but this was an argument. This continued for like 3 to 5 minutes, derailing the session. And since we only have about 15 minutes left, the DM decided to end the session there. As of now, the next session is planned on Sunday, and I have not heard from either of them. Well, AmITheA. Holy spaghetti falling out of your pockets, Batman! Look, I understand having a hyperfixation. Please revisit the first Warhammer story if you want further elaboration. But I also understand how annoying lore elitists are. Please revisit the first Warhammer story if you require further elaboration. If I'm playing Dark Heresy, and the DM says that the guardsman throwing it back for the Emperor does impact damage, then guess what? That player's ass cheeks have been blessed by the Emperor, and it does not matter how frail the ass of a guardsman is in the lore. That holy dump truck now does impact damage because the DM said it does. Sure, it may seem like you're playing in the Fate world, but you're not. You're playing D&D wearing the severed face of Fate like a weeaboo version of Ed Gein. And in D&D, spells are thrown around with more frequency than slurs in a Modern Warfare 2 lobby. You said it yourself, you are the one who derailed the session. You're the asshole. Your willingness to go to the mat over the lore of Fate is why you're not going to be invited back to play more Fate. Congratulations, you played yourself. Story number 4 comes from Reddit user Seraphek99 and is titled AmITheA for leaving a group after being the only person to show up to the session 0. This story happened a couple of days ago and my head has cooled, which is why I'm sharing it. I applied to and was accepted onto a game of 5e on r/lookingforgame. The time was advertised on the post, so everyone knew what they were getting into. The day and time of the game comes and the DM sends out a message for everyone to hop on VC. We were using Discord for this and we're a group of 4 players, including myself. I hop on and the DM and I start chatting. 20 minutes pass and no one else has joined us despite being in the server or had communicated if they were late / had an emergency that would keep them from joining. I could understand it happening to one player, but over half the group was just ridiculous. So I put myself on mute. 5 more minutes pass and the DM PMs me saying that one of the players has requested the start time be moved back an hour for this session 0 and for every other session moving onward. I'm annoyed, but I agree. An hour later from the original start time and still no one has showed up, including the guy who requested the time be moved back to said time. Now here's the part where I may be the asshole. I told the DM that this behavior was clearly disrespectful to his time and my own, and that he should find other players. I then posted in the server saying that I was leaving the game as I wasn't interested in playing with people who, from my first impression of them, clearly did not respect other people's time and or couldn't manage their own time. They all knew when we were playing and had no excuse. I then went on to call out the player who, in my opinion, very self-entitledly requested the game be pushed back permanently to suit him before even meeting the rest of the group and considering their schedules, and then still failed to turn up at the time that he himself requested. I then left the server. Looking back, I may have gone too far as I was pretty scathing with them, but the lateness and complete lack of response from the rest of the players just drove me up the wall. Oh, that is rough. So, fun fact, but I'm someone who used to desperately struggle with being on time. It's a terrible habit and it's something that I have worked super hard to fix. Just ask any of the dungeon lunch break guys and they'll tell you just how flaky I can be. I know what it's like to be in the mind of someone who struggles with time management, and often that comes with the feeling that your world is crumbling around you. But just because I can sympathize does not mean I condone it. Notice how I said I used to struggle with being on time. And that's because I came to the startling realization just how awful it is to waste someone else's. The enjoyment of one's life is all about what resources one does and does not have. But the one resource that can never be replenished is someone's time. If you borrow money from me and never give it back, sure, now I gotta figure out your daily schedule, procure enough ice to fill a bathtub, and find a buyer for your kidneys. But the eventual sale of said kidneys will get me my money back. But if you waste my time, I will never get that back, and I'll be forced to steal your kidneys just for the love of the game. Frankly, I don't think you're the asshole in any way. You, and especially the DM, deserve the basic amount of respect to at least be acknowledged. not the asshole. Half the group may have been late, but you left right on time. Story number 5 comes from a throwaway account and is titled AmITheA for arguing with the DM until he rage quit the server. Context: I have been on a decent-sized TTRPG server for a while now. A bunch of my friends, newcomers, and so on got together. We play all sorts of systems: LO5R, COC, 5e, 13th Age, etc., etc. Most people are both players and DMs in their own right. Now we come to me. I am a gay man. I have mostly played gay male characters in all the games that I have played in. A couple of times a female character, but very rare. Some people may see this as unimaginative and a failure of roleplay. The sexuality of my character does not define them. I have run the gambit of human wizards, gnome barbarians, down on his luck bankers, courtiers of all sorts. The reason for this is because I was in the closet for a very long time. I essentially roleplayed a straight person for 20 years and it was miserable for me. It was the worst and most traumatic time of my life. Things have improved, but the prospect of having to do it again gives me panic attacks. When I DM, I can manage it with the NPCs because I detach myself from them enough. They're strangers, different people, but a PC is a different story. My character, my story. In comes DM. He has run a couple of one-shots in one full campaign that I didn't play in. He also shared the table with me as a fellow player many times. I don't know if I was oblivious to it, but he never showed any signs of having a problem with my characters. He announces that he wants to try out a Star Wars system. I am not too big of a fan of Star Wars, but I love to see new systems, so I sign up. We learn character creation and get to work. As you guessed it, my character was a gay man, a devil-may-care smuggler. I fill out the character sheet and make a bare-bones story. I wanted to get more details from the GM on certain aspects of the world to flesh it out later. A day later, I get a private message from him on Discord. He is asking why I made my character gay again. In the backstory, he had a scorned ex-boyfriend who put a bounty on him. Since I don't think I need a reason, I am a bit confused by this. Since I don't think I need a reason, I counter with, why are your guys always straight? He tried to pivot to, this is about you. Can't you play something different for a change? It's getting stale. I am getting a bit annoyed, but decide to give in to a degree. Fine, I can change him to a her. Not good enough. Again, you go around chasing guys. Just make a normal straight guy for once. Alarm bells go off in my head. I want to get out of this conversation now. I don't care what you think is normal. My character, my choice. If you don't want me to play, just say so. He gets antsy, flip-flopping about how it's not about me, how he wants to help me be better at roleplay. I am running a game myself and have yet to receive complaints about my characters. I leave the private messages and go to the server, asking people flat out, do I suck at roleplay? The majority answer is no, and my players compliment my NPCs, especially the villains. But there is a bit of confusion as to where this came from, so I put the DM on blast, explaining exactly what happened in the private messages. A big argument broke out in general, and most of the server turned on DM. He kept arguing back and forth about how he wasn't homophobic, but that I was lazy and just wanted to live out sex fantasies. Our games never go into that. It's fade to black or kisses, nothing crazy. I missed some details because the chat was going so fast that a mod had to lock it. The DM left the server and sent me several choice expletives in the private chat. Was I in the wrong here? Holy love between two consenting adults, Batman! It's very telling that no matter what race, sexuality, gender, religion, or political affiliation someone is, when they insist that other people should be normal, it often translates to other people should be more like me. Now, I will say taking the whole thing public is not an effective way to find out if you suck, because the people who think you suck will not say that you suck. But even if you hypothetically did suck at roleplay, who cares? The point of the game is to have fun, not put on a f***ing Oscar-worthy performance. Now, I might get it if you played one class or one race every time, but your character's sexuality probably has the same functional bearing as your character's hair color. Most of my characters are straight men, because I am a straight man. Whether or not I kiss the homies goodnight is irrelevant. people tend to play what they know, and I will say I have never once been harassed for always playing straight characters. I hate when people reduce characters, whether they be in RPGs or fiction in general, down to just their sexuality. The DM here read ex-boyfriend and immediately jumped to, "Ow, you're going to be chasing men all game," without a single curious thought as to whether or not it would actually be in the character's nature to actually do that. People read the word gay in a character bio and immediately think the character starts and ends at the word gay. Whether they begin frothing at the mouth out of sheer narcissistic virtue signaling, weird fetishization, or puritanical pearl clutching depends on the person. But it's lame as hell no matter how you look at it. Not the asshole. Oh, sure, we're all playing characters that can shoot fire out of their hands and commune with literal gods, but they just have to like boobs. It's crucial for the plot. Our sixth and final story comes from the very unfortunately named Reddit user Diddy Did It First, and is titled AmITheA for bringing my baby boy with me to play Warhammer 40k. Right now, I'm working part-time so I could watch my son for the rest of the day. My wife and I tried to make 2 full-time jobs work since she is able to bring him with her to her office, but the stress of doing so eventually became too much, so I quit my job to watch him. On the days/afternoons that I have off work, he and I would hang out at home and do stuff around the house, but it dawned on me that it might be cool to bring him to my local game store and play Warhammer while holding him/carrying him in a pack. Or letting him hang out in a pack and play while letting him talk to people while seeing some more of the world. For a while, this worked really well, as he was usually happy, and if he got too fussy, I'd let my opponent know that I needed to call the game. I would then pack him up and take him home, so he wouldn't disrupt the other few folks there or get stressed out. Encouragingly, all the other fellows I played with, who knew in advance that I'd need to bring the lad, were excited to see a dad playing with his baby, and really understanding when I needed to take a break to feed him or change him. For about 2 months, we'd go in about twice a week, and the boy and I became regulars somewhat, and folks seemed happy to see him and talk to him and play with him for a bit. Unfortunately, I was approached mid-game by one of the owners, who drew me away from the common tables area and asked me to leave and not come back with the baby because they were getting complaints about baby noises coming onto the sales floor. I had checked with the community there thoroughly before starting this, and everyone said it should be fine. No one ever approached me to complain before now, and there were no rules anywhere about kids being prohibited or concerning loud noises. I, of course, packed up and left anyway, but I'm worried that I violated some unspoken rule that everyone should know, and inadvertently caused a bad rep for this store. I'ma be real, with that username, I was terrified that your baby boy was not gonna be a baby and there'd be a lot more oil involved. But thank God, Slanesh had nothing to do with this story. So my knee-jerk reaction here was an immediate not the asshole, because I think any behavior that encourages more men to spend time with their kids should be encouraged, and any naysayers should kindly f*** off. If you didn't want any babies in the store, put up a sign or something. Don't let your daddy issues affect how another dad raises his son. But then I started thinking, and here's the kicker. Strip clubs don't have a no babies allowed sign. Does that mean I should take my infant son with me to go drunkenly toss ones at half-naked women? Probably not. Now, am I saying that a Warhammer store is like a strip club? No, God no. Both will drain your cash and you'll find sweaty men in both, but you'll only find women in one of them. Hint, it's the one they're being paid to be at. But the biggest thing that these two places have in common is that they are businesses first, and nowhere do they have daycare listed as one of the services they provide. This isn't like one of those weird Reddit people saying, "You're not allowed to bring your disgusting crotch goblin in here, and you should feel bad for procreating." It's more like, hey, we're trying to stay in business, guy. You are not wrong for wanting to bring your kid out into the world, and setting up a pack and play 1 or 2 times is totally fine. But the reality is you're consistently parking your infant son there multiple times a week, and there's a lot of liability involved with you parking your kid on their floor. If your son develops a ravenous taste for plastic and starts choking on a misplaced space marine, who do you think's gonna be liable for that? Not the Emperor, I can tell you that much. What probably happened is that some of the other customers complained to the manager, and it's just not fair to expect the manager to ignore the complaints if they think it might have an effect on their bottom line. Friendly local game stores already struggle enough to keep their doors open as is. They don't really have the luxury to ignore customer complaints or take on liability that they don't need to take on. I'm gonna go ahead and go with no assholes here. You're a good dad for wanting to expand your son's world, but we should probably wait until he's done teething before we get him into Warhammer. Well, there it is, 6 stories of varying assholery. Did you agree with my takes? Regardless, let's hear your opinions down in the comments below. My opinions may be objectively correct on literally everything, but some conversation can't hurt, right? But you know what absolutely can hurt real bad? Fan art! That's right, how about we take a look at this week's Gallery of the Drake? This week's fan art comes from viewer The Dandy Horse, who depicts the Drake's genius mind enacting his latest scheme to enrich himself. I just wish the skirt wasn't so damn tight. Hey Drake, I saw all the new Tyranids, but the fact that we didn't also miss the electric bill this month is making your parole officer nervous. How the hell did you... Would you believe me if I said I was just dusting my camera? Thank you again, The Dandy Horse, for submitting your art. If you'd like to see your fan art featured in Gallery of the Drake, be sure to send it to the email in my About section. Fan art is my favorite part of doing YouTube, and it means the world to me that I can inspire artists like you to create artwork like this. With the stories over and artwork displayed, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and send in your fan art. And if you feel like supporting the channel further, my Patreon, merchandise, and GamerSupps affiliate links are in the description. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you next time in the Den of the Drake. Yeah, I remember back when I served in the Cringe Wars. I still remember all the people we lost when the weeaboos joined the fight. People like Drakor, Karam Archivals, Cam the Badger, Bro Tater Tot, Soul Taker 666212, Gobshite, Ziggy Diggy D00, Nerito Bell, Kiristor, Miramo Tau, and Matthew McQueenie. What? No, they're not dead. They just subscribed to the Patreon and now they think they're too cool to talk to me anymore. That's fine though, I still got my body pillow. Hey, if you're still here, YouTube thinks you would like this video, and I can confirm it is a certified hood classic.